Good morning, dears, and welcome to Super Coaching for UPSC by Textbook. And I am Pradeep, your economy mentor, and today we meet here to discuss one of the very important topic of Indian economy. Good morning, dears, and welcome to Super Coaching for UPSC by Textbook. And I am Pradeep, your economy mentor. And hello, hello. Okay. It's hello, hello, hello. Hello. Good morning, dears, and welcome to Super Coaching for UPSC by Textbook. And today we meet here to discuss hello one of the very important topic of Indian economy, that is disinvestment. So let's start our today's session. Good morning, dears. Coaching for UPSC by Textbook. Good morning, Priyanka Singh. And the thing is, there was some issue in audio, so I settled down it. Now we are going to start. So good morning, Priyanka. So let's start our session. And today we meet here to discuss. Today we meet here to discuss one of the very important topic of Indian economy, that is disinvestment. The issue, Priyanka, the issue is that this batch is completely English medium batch. Okay, so that the issue is that management directed us that not to use Hindi words. So if you have any issue, you can join my Telegram group. That is, this is my Telegram group, and you can join my Telegram group, and you can resolve all your issues there. Okay, please tell my join my Telegram group, and you can resolve all the issues there. Please, dear, this is that means direction from the management side that we cannot use Hindi words. Okay, that's the issue. That means it is completely English medium batch. So they are saying that we should have not to use Hindi words. So that's the issue. So if we still that means I am very comfortable with Hindi and English as well. So if you have any issue, you can join this Telegram group and you can resolve all your issues there. Okay, in this that Telegram group. So let's start. So let's start. So today we meet here to discuss disinvestment. So first let me tell you that in what manner we are going to proceed with that this unit. So first of all I will define that what is disinvestment, what is the meaning of disinvestment. After that we will discuss the evolution of disinvestment, that how and what steps we have taken for the disinvestment. That after that we will discuss that objectives of disinvestment, objectives, or we can say that what are the merits of disinvestment, why we went for disinvestment. Then we will discuss that what are the issues associated, why there is often critics, there is critics to disinvestment. So why that means the scholars are criticizing disinvestment. So we will discuss, that is nothing but we can say disadvantages as well. Then we will discuss that what are the means of disinvestment, that how we go for disinvestment, how we can proceed for the disinvestment. Then we will discuss that types of disinvestment, and then we will discuss that what is difference between disinvestment and privatization, what is difference between disinvestment and privatization. And after that we will finish this topic here itself. So let's start our session. So this was the background, that in what manner we are going to proceed. So it must be clear in you people's mind that what is going on. Okay, so what is the meaning of disinvestment? That means for the layman, first we will understood it in layman, then we will proceed. Okay, so what is the meaning of disinvestment? So the meaning of disinvestment is, please dear listen me carefully, the meaning of disinvestment is that government, there is something which is known as PSU. Okay, public sector undertaking, that means these are the government companies, and in these government companies, suppose government was holding 70% or 80% shareholding on these companies. Okay, and government is going to sold out certain percentage, suppose 5%, government is going to sold out the 5% shareholding to the private sector, that is known as disinvestment. Please, for common understanding, please try to understand that suppose this is PSU ABC, or suppose this is Steel Authority of India, SAIL, this is SAIL, and for hypothetical we are thinking that in SAIL government shareholding is 70%, suppose this is 70%, and government is going to devolve their shareholding. Devolving shareholding means government is going to sold out the 5% of their shareholding to the private entities, that may be Tata, suppose Tata Enterprises, Tata Steel Authority. Okay, they are going to sold out the 5% shareholding, Steel Authority of India, or government is going to sold out the 5% of their shareholding to the Tata. So the that means earlier government was holding 75% shareholding, now government is going to hold only 65%, because government sold out 5%. So this reduction in 5% of government shareholding is known as disinvestment. This is known as disinvestment. So what we can say, that disinvestment refers to the process of dissolution of the government shareholding in PSUs. That means if the government is going to devolve their shareholding in PSU, that is known as disinvestment. So this is very clear. So and what is going to be, that means through the disinvestment, as I said yesterday, that earlier when we were more close to the socialist pattern, that means government was owning most of the business, government was involved in most of the businesses. Okay, and they were known as Schedule A companies. Okay, so what was there, that means because of incompetency, because of incompetition, that these government PSUs started incurring losses. PSU started incurring losses, and why they started incurring losses, and they were incurring huge losses. They was incurring huge losses. So that was becoming burden on the government. That was becoming burden on the government. And why they started incurring losses? Because of incompetency, because of non-innovation, because of non-adoption of modern technology, because of inefficient professionalism. These PSUs was incurring huge losses, and it was becoming burden on the government. So that means the government lot many expenditure was government was making lot many expenditure for sustaining these PSUs, and they were that means not giving any result to the government. So government is thought that means just to devolve their shareholding in PSUs, and that is known as disinvestment. So that is we can say that it is allow the transfer of government's enormous public debt to the private sector. So that means those PSUs which are not sustainable, they are not in a sustainable manner, that government cannot run these PSUs, so they are going to devolve their shareholding. This is about the disinvestment. Now we are going to proceed further, and we are going to discuss that how it will evolve. So the first of all, that means first of all it was 1991-92 budget. It was the budget of 91-92, that in 31 selected PSUs, government targeted for 3038 crores of disinvestment. That in 1991-92, this was the first time. Ravi Shankar, very good morning. Ravi Shankar, very good morning. So today we are discussing disinvestment. So what is that? This was the that 91-92, that first time government of India try to devolve their shareholding in 31 PSUs. Okay, and the target through that 30 that means devolving their shareholding, government was targeting to raise 3038 crore rupees. Government try to raise 3038 crore rupees. Okay, and these were PSUs which was making losses. Be very clear. And how the PSUs started making losses, we discussed it. Okay, so that means that government tried to that raise 3038, and it was 1991 first time, 1991, and continuously government continue this. And in 2001, that means there was the policy on disinvestment and department. In 2001, the department of disinvestment was created in 1999, which became full ministry in 2001. Be very clear. In 1991, under the finance ministry, Ministry of Finance, a department of disinvestment was created. Okay, you people must be aware that what is the meaning of department and what is meaning of ministry. I think it is very clear. So that means under the Ministry of Finance in 1999, a full-fledged department was created with the name of Department of Disinvestment, and this department became ministry in 2001. Okay, but this that means 2004, in 2004, this department was that means ministry as a that means independent ministry, it was shut down, and it become again under the finance ministry, it became an independent department. Okay, be very clear. Please dears, let me summarize once again that what I want to say. I just want to say that how the evolution of disinvestment started in India. Okay, as I said that once we went for the economic reforms, okay, through the Washington consensus. Earlier we were more close to socialist system. Now we are more close to the capitalist system. So we open our economy. So when we open our economy, that what is the meaning of that? That means privatization, liberalization, globalization. So when we privatize the things, or we integrate our economy with the world economy, so foreign investment is going to be. So how the foreign investment is going to be? That there should be more say now under the new economic reforms, that there should be more the say of the private investment, okay, or private shareholding, meaning that private individuals are going to do more business activity, that is known as private investment. So for the that means greater play of private investment, government has to withdraw from the business activity. government has to withdraw with the business activities. So government started withdrawing from the business activity through the disinvestment, through disinvestment. That's why this was the first time in 1991-92 when the government thought about to have the disinvestment, and through that disinvestment government thought to raise 3032 crore rupees. Okay, and in that time, during the time period in 1992, a separate department was created under the finance ministry of finance. Okay, that was known as department of disinvestment. But in 2000 and in 2001, this department of disinvestment was converted into full-fledged ministry. Okay, but in 2004 again that full-fledged ministry was shut down, and again it became the department under the finance ministry. Okay, and now in 2016, please be very clear, in 2016 we changed the name of disinvestment. That means still it is working under the ministry of finance, but in 2016 we changed the name of department of disinvestment with the name of Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. In 2016, we changed the name of Department of Disinvestment with the name of Department of Investment and Public Asset Management in 2016. We very clear? Okay, so now it is DIPAM, that is Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, which is the nodal agency for disinvestment. Each, you must be aware, if you are not aware, then I will request you people to to listen the budget address of finance minister. Okay, that each year on 1st Feb, that finance minister is presenting the budget before parliament, and in that budget each year the government targets, okay, government targets certain revenue through disinvestment, and for 2023-24 it was 51,000 crore. Okay, this was 51,000 crore. Okay, so that means this was the scenario. So that means now who is instrumental for that means doing all these things? That is Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, and that works under the Ministry of Finance. So still it is under the Ministry of Finance only, but the name has been changed, and the new name of the department is Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. Okay, so this is the scenario for how the disinvestment that evolved in India. Now we are going to proceed further. We are going to discuss that why, and please be very clear that why the objective of disinvestment policy of India. Okay, that why we went for the disinvestment, why time and again we are targeting disinvestment proceeds. Okay, we are again time and again we are that means targeting the targeting revenue through the disinvestment, and that is nothing but we can say that advantages of disinvestment, or we can say that objective of disinvestment, that what are the objectives, and please try to understand it. Okay, very clear. So what are the objectives or what are the advantages we are going to discuss. So what it is, that is reducing the financial burden on the government finance. Be very clear. As I said that initially that government started devolving their shareholding in loss-making PSU. Be very clear, loss-making PSUs, because it became burden on the government. Government. Yeah. Absolutely correct, Ravi Shankar, absolutely correct. But this is just about the change in name. Okay, the thing is, please be very clear that why this is more important, that why we went for disinvestment, or what are the objective of disinvestment. Rather than name, it is more important that objective of disinvestment. And it was very that means old philosophy of economics, and that is Adam Smith. Adam Smith, father of economics, he was of the opinion, please be very clear, although we are diverting from our topic, but just for having the clear cut understanding, let me explain. This was Adam Smith who said that government has no business to do business. Okay, this is very old philosophy of since the birth of the economics, that this was the opinion of the founding father of economics, and one of them was Adam Smith, and they were of the opinion that government has no business to do business, has no business to do business, meaning that government should have not to involve, government should have not to involve in the business activity, government should have to have the only the regulating part. Okay, that government should act as the police state, that is known as laissez-faire police state. Okay, that means the business or the that production activity should be done by the private individuals only. Why it should be? Because with the private individual, that means there is efficiency, because the private investor always work. Please let me make it more clear. They were of the opinion that production should be done. They were of the opinion that production should be done by the private individuals. Why the private individuals? Please try to understand. That means, and from where we got that motivation of disinvestment? We get the motivation from China. That means when we were having the forex, the crunches of forex, and that means we were not having sufficient amount of forex. At that time, China's economy was blooming. Okay, and why? Because they did the market reforms. So we also thought for that. Okay, and what is that philosophy? Let me tell you people that what is that philosophy. What is that philosophy? Let me tell you. That we were facing the BOP crisis. At that time, the China's economy was booming. And what was that reason? That was nothing but that market reform. So, and that was as per that means philosophy of the founding father of economics, that is, and they were of the opinion that production must be done. Okay, the business must be done by the private individuals only. Private individuals. That means market forces. Because the private individuals or market always work for the profit. When they work for the profit, this is very necessary for them to have the efficiency. Without having the efficiency, they cannot have the profit. So in order to have the efficiency in the system, there is need to have the resources or the production must be done by the private individual. Whereas in case of socialist or in case of that means the system in which the majority of factor of production is being owned by the government, that means in that condition there is going to be inefficiency. Why there is going to be inefficiency? Because the government is going to own, and top of that, the needs of the people are going to be taken care by the government on doing the certain activities. So there is no innovation. That the individuals do not have to do innovation in order to increase the efficiency. That's why the government sector will automatically be inefficient. Okay, and that's why whenever there should be investment, there should be production activity, it should be by the private individual, it should be by the capitalist economy, by the capitalist. Okay, because they are innovative, and in order to increase efficiency, they do the innovation, and with that only they can increase their profit. Okay, so that, but the drawback of the capitalist economy is that this cannot ensure the social justice. That means the private individual or market only produce to those peoples who have the that means demand. As per the demand, the market always produce as per the demand, and demand is nothing but willingness to purchase and ability to purchase. So there should be, in order to create demand, there should be willingness, at the same time there should be ability to purchase. So that downtrodden people may have the willingness to purchase, but they do not have the ability to purchase. So when we will have the capitalist system, that means who is going to take care of this downtrodden? That's why in the initial time we were more close to the socialist system, because we want to ensure the welfare. We want to ensure the welfare. But yeah, maximum governance, and that is also laissez-faire. Okay, that is also laissez-faire, philosophy of laissez-faire, that who is going to take care of the downtrodden. That's why, that means in the starting we were more closer to the socialist system, so that the welfare can be ensured. But in between, these public sector enterprises started incurring many losses. Okay, and that's why, and we were not open economy. That's why we have the forex crunch, and that's why we signed the Washington consensus, and that's why we did the reforms. Okay, so now that's why we were having the more, that means more share of the private individuals, more of the activity. Now government is saying that we will have only 4 sectors, that government will have their shareholding only in 4 strategic sectors. Others are going, all are going to be privatized. This is not my opinion. This is the opinion of the government, official opening. Okay, opinion, not opening, official opinion of the government. That is the government opinion, that except for strategic sectors, we are not going to make business. We will work as the police state only, because of efficiency, just to increase the efficiency, just to increase the economic growth. Okay, so that was the philosophy. That is the philosophy. That's why that when, let me rub it first. Let me rub it first. So when there was inefficiency, and the PSU started incurring losses, this was the very important, that that means devolve the shareholding. Okay, reduce the financial burden. So government thought to reduce their financial burden, and in order to reduce the financial burden, government did the disinvestment. Okay, next is opening up the new market for the private firms. As I said, that as per the that means LPG reforms, that is privatization. We were, one of the aspect was privatization, that means more and more share of the private. So when we are going to have the private share, so that means we have to, the government has to withdraw. So that is nothing but it is going to open new market for the private sector. Not only this, this is supporting the liquidity measures in the market. That means when what is going to be that again, how many of you have studied the budget with me? How many of you that means attended my budget session? Anyone? Let me tell you, my dears, when we talk about the budget of the government, there is 2 aspects. One is the revenue aspect, and other is the expenditure aspect. Please dears, Ravi Shankar, nowadays current government marketing, yeah, definitely. Okay, one is revenue aspect and other is expenditure aspect. Okay, so revenue expenditure, that means resources. Okay, government earning. So revenue is through the taxes, we can say through taxes. Okay, although there is 2 aspects, taxes and non-tax. Expenditure, okay, that is going to be, and when we talk about the expenditure, what is going to be? Expenditure is going to be, please dears, try to understand that expenditure is going to be, government expenditure is going to be in the form of defense expenditure, in the form of subsidy, in the form of interest payment, in the form of income, that means income to and pension, okay, in the form of general administration, the government has to spend, okay. And what is going to be generally, and top of that, that when we talk about the budget, government budget can be categorized under two category. Please let me now clear it more clear, that budget, when we talk about the budget can be categorized under two category. One is revenue budget, or other is capital budget. Okay, okay. So that means this is going to be revenue receipts and revenue expenditure. Please be very clear, revenue expenditure. Similarly, capital is going to be in the form of receipts, and it is going to be in the form of expenditure. Please, okay. So that means what is going to be revenue receipts? It is going to be through the taxes. And what is going to be revenue expenditure? It is going to be in the form of defense expenditure. It is going to be in the form of subsidy, income, or the salary payment, salary, pension, scholarship payment. It is going to be in the form of interest payment. It is going to be in the form of general administration. It is in the form of social services government is running. Similarly, when we talk about the capital expenditure, capital budget, receipts can be either through the receipts, the government assets are going to decrease, or liability is going to increase. And that means through this, assets are going to increase and liability is going to decrease. Okay, please be very clear. So that means when we talk about the revenue or receipts, or the receipts of the government, the always government's receipts, please be very clear, government receipts are less than government expenditure. So always government has to borrow in order to run the system, in order to, sir, 1 week back with you, sir. Yeah, okay, but I just want to, okay, let me summarize it. Okay, I am going to summarize. Receipts, government receipts are less than expenditure. I am going to, government receipts are less than expenditure. So in order to run the system, government always need to borrow. Okay, and if the government is going to make borrowing every year, government need to borrow. And if the government is going to make borrowing every year, so it is going to increase interest burden of the government, okay, because government need to borrow, because government receipts, always be very clear, government receipts are less than expenditure. Government is making more expenditure, and government is getting less receipts, and that is technically known as fiscal deficit. And in order to meet the fiscal deficit, government borrow. And if the government is going to make the borrowings every year, it is going to increase our interest burden. So in order to decrease the interest burden, be very clear, in order to decrease the interest burden, because each and every year the government has to borrow, and regularly government has to pay the interest on that, so that is going to increase the interest burden. Okay, that is going to decrease the interest burden, going to increase the interest burden of the government. So that means it is going to be, when it is going to be disinvestment, it is going to be better for the government, not to borrow, and just to make that means just to sold out certain percentage of their shareholding in PSUs. Okay, so from that sale, the government is going to get the revenue. When the government is going to get the revenue, government has not to borrow. When the government has not to borrow, it is going to reduce the interest burden of the government. Okay, so the objective, one of the objective of disinvestment is just to reduce the interest burden, just to reduce the future interest burden of the government. And how the government is going to reduce the future interest burden of the government? By making disinvestment in PSUs, by selling out their certain percentage of their shareholding, by Ravi Shankar Kumar, you have taught in detail there. Siddharth, in capital expenditure, assets have increased and liability has decreased. Investment in sovereign bonds providing the state capital. Capital investment in the roads are capex. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So the thing is, we were discussing that by having the disinvestment, please try to understand. One of the objective of disinvestment is to reduce the future interest burden of the government. And how government is going to reduce? If the government is not going to take borrowing. Why government is not going to take borrowing? Because the expenditure is going to meet out with the selling amount of PSUs. So it is going to reduce the that need of borrowing. When the need of borrowing is going to reduce, interest burden is going to reduce. So one of the basic objective is payment on interest on loan is part of capital expenditure. Yeah, capital expenditure. It is part of the capital payment of interest on loan is part of capital expenditure. It is not part of capital expenditure. It is part of revenue expenditure. It is part of revenue expenditure. Be very clear. Siddharth. Dear Siddharth, it is part of revenue expenditure. That whatever we have taken the loans which we have taken, that will be the part of the capital expenditure or capital receipts, but whatever we are going to make the payment, that will be part of the revenue expenditure. That will be part of revenue expenditure. Yeah, revenue expenditure. Clear. Payment on the interest of loan, part of capital expenditure. No. I already explained. Okay. So this is one of the important topic. Okay, but one of the important that means objective of the government. So I think I made it clear. That this is the objective is just to reduce the government burden. Objective is just to reduce the government burden. Opening new market, raise and facilitate long-term government goals. Okay. Second, channelizing resource to the more productive avenues. Okay, because government is going to and improve the returns on investment from the underperforming firms. I think it is very clear. If there is any doubt, let me know. So let me tell you that, let me summarize the objectives or the advantages of disinvestment. Very first is that through the disinvestment, government is going to make disinvestment in the loss-making units. So through that loss-making units, government is going to decrease their liability. Okay, going to reduce the expenditure, because it is just the that means government has to, if loss is there, meaning government has to make the expenditure. So it is going to reduce the expenditure of the government. Not only this, that means it is going to make, that means more market for the private sector, because private individuals are going to, so that is going to open new sector for the private sector. And we discussed that philosophy, and it is going to increase the efficiency. When efficiency will increase, the production will increase. When the production will increase, it will increase the national income. Not only national income, this production will also increase the employment rate. Okay, so this is going to, third, we can say that it is going to reduce the interest burden, future interest burden of the government. And how it is going to reduce the future interest burden of the government? It is going to reduce the future interest burden because government revenue is less than expenditure. When government revenue is less than expenditure, government need to borrow. And whatever government, that means when government, rather than borrowing, government is going to sold out their shareholding in PSU, government is going to get the revenue. So that much borrowing needs are going to reduce. When the borrowing needs are going to reduce, the interest payment is also going to reduce. So that is the objective. I think it is very clear. Now we are going to proceed further, and we are going to discuss that why it is being criticized. Why that disinvestment is being criticized in India. Why it is being criticized? Be very clear. Let me tell first. Let me rub it. Then I am going to make it very clear. Okay. So why it is being criticized? Let me. It is being criticized, my dear. It is being criticized because there is loss of regular income to the government. Okay, be very clear. That means initially our target was to just to sold out the loss making PSUs, and be very clear. It is very harsh reality that the private individuals or private entities were not very much interested. Private entities were not very much interested to make investment or to purchase the loss making PSUs. So almost every year, the whatever targets were there by the government to raise the funds through the disinvestment, that is never that means fulfill never fulfill. Each and every year government decides the target, but they were most of the time they were not fulfilled. Okay, so what is the drawback? That drawback is that in between, government started to devolve their shareholding in profit making PSUs as well. Profit making PSUs like Navratna, Maharatna, Miniratna, etc. Because just to motivate the private investment, private shareholding, just to increase the efficiency, just to open up more market for the private sector. Because private, Siddharth, government has income source through the direct and indirect insurance bonds holding. World Bank, IMF, capex does not create returns. Loss transfer. What you want to say, please, dear? Let me know. That government has income source through the direct and indirect taxes. It is correct. Okay. So insurance of bond and borrowing from World Bank, IMF, and if capex does not create returns, it becomes loss and transform into loss making entity. Yeah, definitely. Disinvestment is a process where the government divests some of its stake in particular entity and meets the disinvestment targets to the. Are you teaching me or you are teaching? You are teaching me or you are studying? Why are you surfing net and that means posting it here? Okay, we have discussed now what is disinvestment. Let me tell that what is the. So that means government started disinvesting in profit making PSUs and mini ratna, navaratna. When what is the, that means when government is having the, suppose government has 70% of shareholding in sale. So whatever profit government is earning through sale, the 70% profit margin is going to be government. Okay, 70% margin is going to be government. If government reduce their shareholding 70% to 65%, then definitely now in new scenario government will get whatever that profit this sale is going to generate, that government will get only 65% shareholding. So that means when the government was not making a disinvestment, government was getting the regular more, government was making more revenues through the profit making PSUs regularly. And when government is going to devolve their shareholding, going to reduce their shareholding, definitely government that means the revenue is going to be reduced as well. Okay, government revenue is also going to be reduced in that scenario. Let me give you an example for this. My dear Das, please focus on lecture rather than surfing on net. You are surfing on net and putting that thing here. That suppose sale have the 70% share in PSU. Okay, suppose it makes the profit of 70 rupees. Okay, and other is having 30%. Okay, so that means 70 rupees is going to be distributed equally. So it is going to be, that means how much government is going to, this is government and this is private. So how much government is going to get? Government is going to get 70, that is going to be 70 divided by 7 upon 10, that is going to be 49 rupees. Government is going to get the 14, government is going to get 49 rupees when the government is holding 70% of share holding. Suppose government sold out 10% share holding. Now in new scenario government hold only 60% and others private sector hold 40%. So in the new scenario what is going to be, that 76 upon 10, that is going to be 42 rupees. That when without disinvestment government was earning 49 rupees. Okay, with the profit of sale now the government is earning only 42 rupees. So what is going to be, government is going to make loss of 7 rupees, and it is because government has disinvested 10%. So there is regular loss to the government revenue, there is regular loss to the government revenue, because nowadays most of the time government is disinvesting or to the profit making PSUs. Okay, because the private sector is not very much interested to make to purchase the loss making PSUs. Okay, so this is regular loss to the, okay, and the second thing, it can create monopoly. Monopoly of private sector means what is that means, as I always say that the only drawback of the private sector is it does not ensure social justice. So that means the private sector or market always produce for as per the demand of market, and demand is as per the paying capability. So it does not ensure the social justice. So who is going to take care of the that means the downtrodden, the people who do not have the 2 square of meal. If it is going to be privatized, each and everything is going to be privatized, who is going to take care of the downtrodden? Okay, that is the biggest issue, that is the biggest concern. Okay, the biggest concern is the private sector is do not have the social justice. Okay, the capitalist system can never have the social justice, meaning they only produce as per the demand of the market, and they produce on the basis of demand, and only the demand can be created by those people who have the purchasing power. Okay, so who is going to fulfill the demand of the downtrodden? Okay, it is responsibility of the government, and if the government is going to withdraw from the business activities, how they are going to be? Okay, who is going to take care of the this downtrodden? Okay, that is nothing but can create the monopoly. Okay, so that when we are going to make more and more privatization, that means involvement of the, that means private sector, they are more oriented to the profit making, they are not concerned with the social justice. That's why there is going to be disparity, although that India is the fastest growing economy. Okay, but at the same time we are not, that means there are individuals who are not able to have meet the 2 square of meal. Yeah, that to meet the target reducing the CAD and fiscal deficit. Definitely. Okay. Disinvestment, that is nothing but that reduce the future interest burden. We already discussed future interest burden. That is the objective of the merit of disinvestment. Now we are discussing the demerits. Okay, so one thing is, it is very clear, okay, that regular loss to the government revenue, and it is very clear it may create the monopoly of the private sector, and in that condition there can be issue for social justice, and there can be more disparity, and that's why the issue with the Indian economy is, when we opened our economy, that means we are having the highest economic growth, but at the same time we have the unemployment rate as well. That means that when we have the high economic growth rate, how there can be unemployment? So undoubtedly, because of economic reform, because of privatization, because of globalization, because of liberalization, our economic growth rate has increased. But our economic growth rate has increased with the high unemployment rate. How it happened and why it happened? It has happened because economic growth has led by the service sector. Economic growth in India has led by the service sector. Okay, and this service sector cannot give the employment to all. Okay, cannot give the employment to all. That means it can give the employment to the skilled workers only. That means it cannot give the employment to the unskilled workers or semi-skilled workers, whereas manufacturing sector can give the employment to skilled as well as unskilled. That's why, although, and this is going to be scenario when there is going to be more or more privatization, that means it is going to be service sector lead economic growth, and that is going to worsen the condition, that is going to create more unemployment. That's why this is also the issue. Okay, next we can discuss other, that why it is being, it is something that it is faulty model. And why it is faulty model, please try to understand. Okay, it is faulty model such that, that means, in order, suppose in order to make the, that means great, in order to have great marriage function, you are going to make the investment. That means you are going to sold out your property, and going to make the marriage function. Okay, that great marriage function. Okay, it is something like that. Okay, that means what is going to be, that in order to meet your revenue expenditure, in order to meet your day-to-day expenditure, okay, because what is going to be, when it is going to be, please be very clear, when I discuss the budget, that capital expenditure is always good for the economy. Capital expenditure is always good for the economy. It does not matter how much you borrow. If you borrow, there is golden rule of borrowing, that borrowing should be done for the capital expenditure. If it is for the capital expenditure, be very clear, please try to understand. If it is for the capital expenditure, that is going to create the economic growth in the economy. Capital expenditure always make economic growth. Okay, it lead to economic growth in the economy. But it is revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditure means day-to-day expenditure of the government. It is day-to-day expenditure of the government which is instrumental for, okay, consumption expenditure. Okay, so why, and we already discussed that government expenditure is better than, more than the government receipts. So if it is capital expenditure, then there is no issue. So that means government expenditure is more than receipts, not because of capital expenditure, but because of the revenue expenditure. So just to meet out your revenue expenditure, which is bust condition, that means your day-to-day expenditure, just to meet out your day-to-day expenditure, you are going to sell out your property. government is going to sell out their property. For how long they are going to sell out their property? Okay, that means your day to day consumption need, how, for how long? Okay, it is something like that you are not doing any business or any productive activity, and you are going to eat simply, okay, by ideally, okay, by, that means you are not involved in the business activity, okay, in production. Any, suppose A is there, A individual is there who is not doing any business or who is not involved in the production activity, okay, that means A is not earning anything, but A has to meet out their expenditure, and for meeting out their expenditure, A is going to sell out their property, okay, parental property. It is something like that, okay, because I always say that capital expenditure is always good for the economy because it creates the economic growth. But as I always say that government is having the expenditure more than receipts, meaning that is fiscal deficit. Government has fiscal deficit. So whatever fiscal deficit is, it is not because of capital expenditure. That means it is because of revenue expenditure. If it is because of revenue expenditure, meaning what is going to be, and if this revenue expenditure, that means the government is going to meet out the revenue expenditure by selling out their property, it is not good, okay. For how long government is going to sold out, that's the issue, that is faulty, okay. That means in order to meet out your consumption need, in order to meet out defense expenditure, in order to meet out that means salary payment, in order to meet out subsidy, in order to meet out interest payment, you are going to sold out their property, your property. That is not feasible. And for how long it is feasible, that's the issue, okay. So that's why it is also the issue, that's why it is being criticized. Now we are going to discuss the types of disinvestment, okay. Let me do it little fast, okay. So the thing is, because we are going to we do not have much time, so let me. So when we talk about the types of disinvestment, it can be minority disinvestment, it can be majority disinvestment, it can be strategic disinvestment, it can be privatization, okay. Minority, that means this strategic, let me tell you, this strategic disinvestment can be categorized under two categories. One is minority disinvestment, other is majority disinvestment. Be very clear. One is minority disinvestment, other is majority disinvestment. What is the meaning of minority disinvestment? The meaning of minority disinvestment means government is going to sold out lesser amount of their shareholding. It may be 5%, it may be 2%, it may be 3%, whatever it may be. Okay, so that is the minority shareholding. Okay, and majority shareholding means government is going to sold out majority of their shareholding. Majority of their shareholding, that is known as majority. That means disinvestment. Under the minority shareholding, government is going to sold out. It is very clear that government is going to have the that means management control. In the minority shareholding, it should be very clear that governments must have the management control. Management control means government must have more than 51% shareholding. In the government must have the more than 51% shareholding. If government is going to have more than 51% shareholding, so government is going to sold out 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%, 10%, whatever it may be. Okay, and majority shareholding means government is not intend to that means hold the management control. Okay, so they may have that less than 51% shareholding. Okay, privatization means government is going to completely going to sold out the PSUs. It is completely, that means 0% shareholding of the government. That is, and nowadays that means if the management is not in the government that holding, government is not having the management, it is known as privatization. So this is about the capital expenditure through it propel the economic growth. It is directly coupled with the fiscal deficit and CAD obligation. obligation meeting out the reducing CAD and fiscal deficit. Directly coupled with the fiscal deficit, CAD, as the government is going to borrow capital from the international financial institutions. Capital expenditure through it propel the economic growth. It is directly coupled with the fiscal deficit and CAD, as it is as the government is going to borrow capital from the international financial institution. Bill Closen, have you attended my budget session? Have you attended my budget session? Whatever you are writing, it is wrong. Okay. Capital expenditure is the expenditure which creates the assets or which decrease the liability. Through the capital expenditure, either the government assets are going to increase or government's liability is going to increase. Capital expenditure, what is going to be capital expenditure? Please don't focus on net. What is capital expenditure? Capital expenditure, either government assets are going to increase, capital expenditure. Either assets are going to increase or liability is going to decrease. Assets means investment on physical infrastructure. If government is going to invest on physical infrastructure, like government is going to make road, government is going to make bridge, government is going to make the railway tracks, whatever it may be. Second, government is going to make nationalization. Government is going to purchase the shareholding. Third thing, government is going to give the loans to the that means loan to that foreign countries. That is capital expenditure. That government has to make the expenditure, but whatever expenditure government is making, it is creating assets for the government. Okay, that is capital expenditure. And liability decrease, that means whatever government has purchased, that means borrowed, whatever government has borrowed in the past, if the government is going to that means return back the principal amount of past borrowing, that is also, in order to return back the principal amount of past borrowing, government has to make spending, and that spending will be part of capital expenditure, and through that expenditure government is going to decrease their liability. This is the meaning of capital expenditure. Be very clear. So capital expenditure is always good for the economy because it creates the virtual effect. Virtual effect means when you are going to make investment on road, you are going to make investment on bridge, it will create the economic growth. How it will create the economic growth? Let me tell you. Please be regular in the sessions. Okay, how? When in order to make the road, government is going to make the investment. When going to make the investment, in order to make the road, government has to employ the people. When the government will employ the people, it will create the purchasing power of the people. It will increase the purchasing power of people. With this purchasing power, people will make the demand. This will increase the aggregate demand. When aggregate demand will increase, aggregate supply will increase. When aggregate supply will increase, that means the production will increase. When the production will increase, that means it will lead to economic growth. That's why capital expenditure is always good for the economy. Okay, that is the meaning. Okay, so majority shareholding means most of the shares are going to be sold out. Okay, so that means it was being done in the non-strategic PSUs. Okay, and privatization, it is very clear, we discussed it. Now we are going to proceed further and we are going to discuss the that means of disinvestment. Okay, that disinvestment may be through the initial public offer, it may be follow on public offer, it may be offer for sale, it may be institutional placement, it may be exchange traded fund, it may be cross holding. Okay, I discussed it already when I discussed capital market. So I will not repeat because I do not have time. Institutional placement, I discussed it also. Exchange traded fund. What is the meaning of exchange traded fund? Meaning that government is going to make a pool of PSUs. Be very clear. Government is going to make a pool of PSUs, and government is going to that means announce their target. Suppose government announced that we are going to make 51 crore rupees from disinvestment, and for making that this to raise this much fund, government is going to have 3, 4 or 5 PSUs, and they are going to say that by devolving the shareholding of these 5 or 4 PSUs, we are going to raise 51 crore. Okay, 51 crore, and that is nothing but because in this 5 or 4, 2 may be loss making PSU, 3 may be that profit making PSU. As I said that government is not able to meet their targets of the disinvestment proceeds because the private sector is not interested to make investment on loss making units. So that's why nowadays there is exchange traded fund. Under the exchange traded fund, where government makes that means fix the targets for the disinvestment proceeds, they make a pool of the PSUs, and in that PSUs there is some loss making units and there are some profit making units, and through that the private investment was encouraged, or private that means purchase is promoted. What is the cross holding? Be very clear. Okay, what is the cross holding? And it is not considered to be good, but let me tell you that what is the meaning of cross holding. So what is the meaning of cross holding? That means suppose LIC is also government of India. Government of India is holding the ownership of LIC, and suppose there is Air India. Air India. Air India is loss making unit of government, and suppose LIC is profit making. Okay, so what is going to be? It was seen that when the government was devolving their shareholding in Air India, meaning in loss-making units, the private investors were not very much interested. So what is going to be that whatever shareholding is going to be sold in the loss-making unit, that is going to be purchased by the government PSU, which is having the profit making. Okay, the government PSU which is earning the profit, that is going to purchase the shareholding of government which is being devolved in the loss making units. Okay, that is known as cross holding. Okay, and it is not going to serve any purpose. Okay, that means the government is going to invest their money from one PSU to another PSU. That is cross holding. Okay, that and I try to explain that it is, suppose Air India is loss making unit and LIC is profit making, and government try to devolve or try to make disinvestment in Air India 5%. 5% disinvestment in Air India, and private investors are not interested to that means purchase this Air India. Okay, so what is going to be that government profit making PSU, that is LIC is going to purchase the shareholding 5% shareholding in Air India, that is known as cross holding. Now we are going to proceed further and we are going to discuss the difference between disinvestment and privatization. What is that if the government, that disinvestment, government devolves their shareholding but maintains the management control. Disinvestment, be very clear that government is going to devolve their shareholding but still the management belongs to the government. Okay, that means the government must have 51% shareholding. Privatization means government transfer the management control to the private sector. Okay, that means government shareholding is that means at max 49%. Okay, that in case of privatization, government shareholding may be at most 49%. Okay, that means 50%, 51% or more than 51% shareholding belongs to the private individual in case of privatization. This is very clear. Okay, so the purpose is to ease the finance or increasing the productivity of capital, government capital. Here the purpose is, in case of privatization, the purpose is to strategic decrease the achieve operational efficiency. Okay, to increase the efficiency in the government's the PSUs. The purpose of privatization is to increase the efficiency in PSUs. Okay, and today we finish here only. Thank you very much. If there is any doubt, let me know. Today we finish here, dears. If there is any doubt, let me know. Thank you very much, dears. Thanks a lot. We finish here. And to have any type of query related to economy, just connect me on Telegram. That is, this is my Telegram ID. And to have any type of query, just connect me on this Telegram ID. Thank you very much, dears. Thanks a lot. We finish here.